Hey tankers, and welcome back to World of Tanks with PR154, and today we're doing a gameplay review of the new Tier 8 Premium Czech Heavy Tank Skoda T56. As is customary, Wargaming tends to release Tier 8 Premium tanks with any new line that comes out, and the Skoda T56 sort of captures a lot of the typical features about the line, notably the two-shot autoloader. It also has a very strong turret. It also has these characteristic thick, chunky, spaced armor plates that are bolted to the turret, which makes Skoda T56 an incredibly difficult opponent when playing from hull down. It also has extremely reliable sidearm with 70mm, which means you can be reverse side scrape angling 25 degrees and be still reliably bouncing even some of the largest caliber kinetic energy rounds in the game. So when they first came out with these two-shot auto loaders or auto reloaders, a lot of people think, well, what can I do with that? And it turns out quite a lot. The intricate reloads on them are typically quite short. In the case of Skoda T56, that intricate reload is 3.5 seconds. So we get our first shot for the game into the Panther 2, but it manages to slip away before that intraclip reload manages to catch up, which very fortunate for them, because another hit of the 460 alpha damage from the 130mm main armament would have left very little in the tank for the Panther 2 to carry through for the rest of the game. The way I've got this tuned at the moment, it's got a reload of about 23 seconds. So doing 460 alpha damage, a 3.5 second intraclip reload, with 23 seconds of magazine reload, you've got a DPM that's chasing about 2100 DPM, which is on par with it's above average compared to other medium and heavy tanks in the game. So you certainly can't look at it and think, oh, auto loader, it's got no DPM. No, it'll keep up. So it's very advisable not to end up in 1v1s against this tank. The one weak point that's of particular note is its frontal armor. Its frontal armor is actually quite poor. With like if you have more than sort of 180mm of penetration, you can reliably go through the upper or lower frontal plates of the tank. So you certainly want to be exercising any and all opportunity to catch this tank when the frontal armor is exposed. That will require quite a lot of discipline. This is a tank that exceeds at imbalanced trades thanks to its the very high alpha of its two-shot autoloader. Granted, the penetration compared to other Tier 8 autoloader heavy tanks is not great. It's sort of I'll double check this just to be accurate, but we have 208mm of penetration on the standard AP. And we have 248mm of penetration with the premium AP. Again, this is an AP round, not an APCR or a heat round. The high explosive rounds are pretty effective as well, with 640 HP average damage and 68mm of penetration as well. So, were you to engage a weakly armored target, which you can change out a magazine with the intuition perk in about 6.5 seconds. So if you see those opportunities to sort of knock out a lightly armored tank, a light tank destroyer, and switch to the high explosive, you will be rewarded potentially with the capacity to completely clip them out. I mean, even as it is with the AP rounds, like 920 clip damage done every 23 seconds, that's nothing to laugh about either. We can see we've already bounced heat rounds from the STA2 and the T69 that's sort of engaging us from about a grid square away. With heat rounds, they are going to struggle. I mean, these things, that's 50 millimeters of spaced armor. So straight away they're going to lose 150 millimeters of penetration, and then they've got 220 millimeters of turret to then get through. Their only chance is to fire at this gun sight, I guess, and the cupola. So the gun sight's armored by 220 millimeters, and the cupola's armored by 170 millimeters. But yeah, just flinging heat rounds down range is not how you counter this tank. It's just heat repellent. If their best chance is to try and play this a little bit cool, and at the moment they're just, I don't know, I'm just baiting shots from them at the moment, not doing anything particularly special. We've baited successfully baited nearly 1,000 hit points of damage so far, and we've caused about that in return, just using the standard AP rounds. Granted, that's only sort of 2 hits on the enemy so far. The gun dispersion does leave a little bit to be desired. It's 0.4 base dispersion. You can get that down to 0.38 if you're running vents and a Brothers in Arms crew. But I guess that sort of gun dispersion, it does mean that outside of sort of short to intermediate ranges, you're really not going to be pinpointing weak spots. With 208 millimeters of base penetration on the AP, you may sort of have to do. So, like many of the 2-shot autoloaders, what this tank excels at doing is either kill shots or making sure that you're a kill shot for someone else. And we sort of see that with Barask, with its 2x360 HP alpha bombs that it can sort of run around the battlefield and deliver. And it does that quite well. So we've broken cover. Not the best trade there. We've taken sort of 3 hits, one from a Barask, one from a T26E5, one from a WZ120. Bounced the T69 as we've sort of retreated back into cover. So not the best trade, but we have inflicted a reasonable damage bill on the enemy, but not the best poke. This tank doesn't reward impatient play like that because because that upper frontal plate is just so easily penetrated. So if it's spending a lot of the game just sort of waiting for opportunities to sort of poke out and deliver these 920 alpha damage clip to unsuspecting enemies, or you're sort of looking at its hit point pool and thinking, okay, well, I might eat a 250 hit point shot from this guy, but before he gets a chance to put a second shot in, I can land 920 hit points on him and probably take them out of the game. So you're constantly doing these sort of calculations when you're thinking of making an aggressive play on the enemy. Got a little bit lucky there as well. Granted, this is probably from a game where it was very fresh to the battlefield. Folks just weren't really familiar with it. They weren't aware of just how weak the frontal plate on this tank can be. So I think we kind of have to give them that. Folks catching videos like this and other publications that I'm sure are hitting the game hard and fast, they'll catch on pretty quickly. So we're doing what this tank excels at doing, and that's landing killing shots. So we managed to, within one clip, send the VK-16801P and the T26E5 Patriot back to the garage. So we're now approaching 4,000 hit points of damage with the Skoda T56. We're very much in the clean-up phase of the game here. A swing and a miss against the Barask, but with only 3 enemy vehicles left in the game, we're sort of trying to chase whatever damage we can while we can. The Barask is able to knock out the friendly Lorraine 40T. We use our turret once again to bounce a shot off the WZ, and we claim our 3rd kill of the game. Our friendly SU-130 PM ends up knocking out the enemy Barask, and that just leaves the 1 SU-130 PM left in the game. As we're kind of bringing up to rear here at the moment, mobility is not the strong suit of Skoda T56. It's probably among the slowest of the Tier 8 premium autoloader tanks at 35 kilometers per hour forward speed. So you really do want to strap a turbocharger to it just to get a few extra kphs out of it. So that's victory for us in the Skoda T56. Let's take a quick look at the results. So for our efforts there, we've come away with an Ace Mastery badge and a couple of epic medals along the way as well. Steel Wall for having bounced more than our hit points, which we'd bounced quite a few shots off that T69 that was doing its best to try to put some holes through the turret, but unfortunately it really wasn't equipped to do that between the heat rounds that just weren't going through the spaced armor and the fairly weak armor penetration of its standard rounds. It just wasn't going to be finding purchase on the Skoda T56 unless it had sort of a fairly lucky hit to either the gun sight or the cupola. We've also picked up the high caliber medal for accounting for at least 25% of the enemy hit points, which with nearly 4,000 damage done, we've sort of made a reasonable impression in the enemy. Had a last minute platoon as well with one of our mates and the Brothers in Arms epic medal for both accounting for 3 kills. We've also picked up these other badges of merit: Duelist, Fire for Effect, and Shell Proof for Duelist in particular for destroying enemy vehicles that had caused damage to us in turn. Looking at the team scores, we've placed quite well here, quickly followed up by Gramo in the Kampfpanzer 7, which is another quite high damage per minute tank that if used effectively you can rack up some reasonable damage scores. So that's the Skoda T56, folks. I have done a broader sort of technical review and statistical review on this tank on my Wix page, so I'll put the link down below. Hopefully you're catching this video from my Wix page, but sometimes we have those too long didn't read moments and just want to catch a video. So we're trying to be Fireball Liquor and try to please everyone. So folks, that is the Skoda T56, the new Tier 8 Czech premium heavy tank, and that supports a new Czech heavy tank line, which characteristically quite similar to Skoda T56, between the Big Alpha 2-shot auto reloader, between the highly reliable turret armor, big chunky spaced armor protection, excellent side scraper, but the frontal armor is really not too much to write home about. Encountering this sort of vehicle, the idea is really don't let it bait you. If you let it bait you at close ranges, it'll just pop out and punish you for 920 hit points of 2-shot auto reloader. And the worst part about it is if you try to follow up, this thing still has reasonable DPM, so you might get 1 or 2 more shots in, and that's great, but then by that stage it's fully reloaded and it's sending you back to the garage. So you do have to be extremely careful engaging Skoda T56 in 1v1 situations or situations where you're not adequately supported. This is a tank that likes to play from short to intermediate ranges, support brawls. As you can see, when it pokes out on its own and the enemy is not distracted, it can end up with quite a build to its hit points, and so we'd actually ended ended the battle with maybe a third of our hit points left, just from one silly push. Try not to be the impatient one when you're countering the Skoda T56, because impatience just gets punished in welder tanks generally. And if you'd like to see one of your replays featured on welder tanks with PR154, please give us a shout over Discord or any of the links below, and we'll do our best to sort you out. In the meantime, take care out there.